Hello. Hello again, and thank you for your patience. I'm Michael, your MC for today, and we would like to send you the warmest welcome to today's webinar. This is part of the Learning Beyond Tomorrow, the Education Literature Forum presented by Oxford University Press, China. And today the topic is about the 7 myths of technology-enhanced language learning by our keynote speaker, Dr. Paul C. Dr. Paul C really needs no introduction, but for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, let us tell you more about Dr. Paul C. He is the honorary professional consultant at the Chinese University of Hong Kong's Faculty of Education's Department of Curriculum and Instruction. Dr. C has over 30 years of English teaching experience, and one of his specialization is technology-enhanced language learning. And he has taught the courses to pre-service and in-service teachers on both the postgraduate and undergraduate levels. And he's particularly interested in the application of e-learning in flipping the classroom, and has been named one of the world's top 50 leaders in flipped learning by the Flip Learning Global Initiative. And Dr. C is also currently a Microsoft Innovative Education Expert, a Microsoft Certified Educator, and a Google Certified Trainer. He is also a Fellow of the Royal Society of Arts and a member of the Chartered Institute of Linguists. So we are so privileged to have Dr. C, and I'd like to now pass over to Dr. C. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So thank you, Michael. So thanks very much for coming to this session, right? Now, before I start, right, I have to be honest with you, all right? Now, the title of this presentation is The 7 Myths About Technology-Enhanced Language Learning. I have chosen this title to attract people's attention, but we all know that in English language, myths are things to be proved wrong. Okay, so if you're coming to that session because, well, you're not that keen about applying e-learning in your language teaching, and you want to collect some arguments to bring back to your school to tell your principal that according to Dr. C, technology-enhanced language learning is not worth our while. Now, if that is your intention, you're going to be disappointed because my real thesis is just the opposite. So in this presentation, I'm going to argue that we're now in the best juncture of human history to apply technology in language teaching and learning. And I'm not even alluding to the pandemic, although many teachers have told me that the pandemic has indirectly boosted their IT competence. So even if we hadn't had the pandemic, I still believe that we're now in the best of time in human history to apply technology in language teaching and learning. Okay, but first things first, all right? Let's look at 3 terms which are, well, which may be causing confusion to people. So now I'm now going to share screen. Okay, right. Now, the 3 terms, all right? Now you will find that I'll be using these 3 terms interchangeably in the next 30 minutes, all right? So let me clarify a little bit, all right? E-learning is the blanket term, okay? It's the general term, it's the blanket term, which refers to using technology in teaching and learning. Computer-assisted language learning, this term first appeared in 1990, all right? When some people started to experiment with using computers in teaching language, okay? And then a few years ago, more and more people started to turn to the term technology-enhanced language learning. So why the switch, right? Now, I think there are two reasons. One is that, well, 1990, we started with computers. But today, when we use technology in teaching language, what is a computer? So if your students are using iPads, so is the iPad a computer? Now, of course, some people will argue that yes, it is, all right? The iPad is still a computer, but even so, we have many, many other technologies like AI, for example, that we can apply in language teaching and learning. So that's why the switch to the more modern term technology-enhanced language learning. Okay, so in this presentation, I'll be using these three terms interchangeably, all right? But of course, personally, the term which I like best is technology-enhanced language learning. Okay, so myth number one. Myth number one, all right? Okay, TEL, technology-enhanced language, it's a passing fad. Okay, let me stop share first, right? Now, some people might think that TEL is a passing fad which will fall out of fashion sooner or later, all right? So some teachers might think, well, I'm not that keen about using technology in language teaching and learning, and so I'll just wait it out, all right? Because I think that after a few years, it will fall out of fashion. So I don't need to bore about TEL or e-learning anymore. Okay, I think to a certain extent we cannot blame some teachers for having that mentality, and this is because in the last 20 years, at least in Hong Kong, we have one curriculum innovation after another. All right. So those of you who have taught in Hong Kong for about or more than 20 years, all right, will still remember these evoke words like, for example, about 20 years ago, 4 key tasks, 9 generic skills, and then later we had the cooperative learning, and then still later project-based learning, values education, moral education, life skills education, language across the curriculum, assessment for learning, assessment as learning, assessment of learning, and so on and so on. And currently we have what? We have learner diversity, self-directed learning. So, so these curriculum innovations, all right, have popped up one after another in the last 20 years. So if some teachers think e-learning is a passing fad, so that after a few years no one will be talking about it anymore, then they are wrong. Why? Okay, now let me go back to share screen, and I'm now going to use 3 examples, all right, to show that it is not a passing fad, all right? Okay, now, first scenario, all right? The government of Hong Kong started to promote e-learning around the turn of the century. And in the first few years of this century, those very few schools in Hong Kong who were doing e-learning would have the students use this machine, the machine that you're looking at on the screen. So in those days, these machines, they were not even called laptops or notebooks, they were called netbooks, all right? So they were very, very primitive laptops, so to speak, used by just a very, very small number of schools in Hong Kong. The question is that these netbooks, they were very, very limited in functionality. And in other words, there was not much that they could do And therefore, the idea of e-learning, the idea of using netbooks did not catch on, all right? So most other schools in Hong Kong were just keeping a wait and see attitude. But let's look at 3 other scenarios. 2004, YouTube appeared on the internet. Now, why was that a milestone development? It was a milestone development because it's the first time in human history that people could put a video on the internet for others to see so easily. And so people started to think, well, can we use YouTube for teaching? Well, so that was the first milestone. 2 years later, we had another development, Khan Academy. Now, Khan Academy was not just a video platform. And so those of you who have visited that platform will know that it's a learning platform. Yes, Khan Academy makes heavy use of YouTube videos, but it's not just watching videos. So people started to realize that, well, we can use video for constructing, organizing, learning units. And technically, it was so easy. And then the third milestone, which sort of cemented the place of e-learning in the school curriculum, the first iPad, which came out in 2010. Now, think back to the early netbooks, all right? There was not much they could do, all right? And students still had to be doing a lot of typing during a lesson. But now, all the kids, all the students need to do, all right, is to pick up an iPad, use the finger, and immediately they could do hundreds of things in the classroom. So for me, the iPad cemented the place of e-learning in the school curriculum, in teaching and learning. So what is the conclusion? And today we even have bring your own device, all right? So what is the conclusion? The conclusion is technology is now part and parcel of teaching, all right? So don't think about waiting it out. Don't think that, well, it's a passing fad so that in a few years' time, no one will be talking about e-learning, all right? I think that that's true to, in a way that's true, that in a few years' time, no one will particularly be talking about e-learning because technology will then become part and parcel of teaching. Okay, now, myth number 2, you need a degree in information technology to do TEL, technology enhanced language learning. Now, that was true 20 years ago. Yes. So 20 years ago, if you had a degree in information technology, that would help, okay? And so in those days, indeed, if you wanted to do something about using technology in language teaching, you would need to know some computer programming. Now, I don't have a degree in information technology. I don't, all right? And I started to, okay, once again, let me stop sharing again, all right? And so I don't have a degree in information technology, but I started to fiddle with using technology in language teaching about 21 years ago, all right? And I still remember in those days, I had to spend a lot of time grappling with the technical aspects of technology, even when I wanted to do something very, very simple. So in those days, I had to get help from the IT technician, all right, almost every day. So one thing I learned to do in those days, 21 years, good lunch every every once in a while, right? Because I did need that help, right? And sometimes I was so frustrated that I would think, oh my God, I'm a language educator. So I'm just here to teach English, right? To teach English. And I just wanted to teach English in a more interesting way. Why am I spending so much time dealing with the technical aspects? Yes, but fortunately, right? Fortunately, let me go to share screen again. Fortunately, in the years to come, all right, technology has become more and more user-friendly. So user-friendly that you don't need to have any technical knowledge about IT because, well, we are language educators, all right? We're not interested in the technical part, all right? So we just wanted to teach language in a more interesting way. So in the last 20 years or 15 years, shall I say, all right, technology has become so user-friendly that all we language teachers need to learn is how to make use of these tools in creating things, in conducting lessons and so on, all right? So I'm now showing you, if you're looking at my screen, I'm now showing you one example. Learningapps.org, it's one of my favorite tools for creating interactive tasks like matching, sequencing, categorizing, and so on, all right? And most of these tools today follow the same routine. Step one, create your artifact. So that's step one, all right? Okay. All right. So, for example, with learningapps.org, you choose your task format, let's say matching pairs, okay? And then you create new app. That's the next step, okay? And then you continue to, okay. So just now I was talking about myth number 3, and then I was saying that if you're using PowerPoint, Google Classroom, and Kahoot, you're already doing TEL, right? And my rebuttal was, okay, it's okay to use Kahoot occasionally for a bit of fun, right? But if you do something occasionally just for a bit of fun, then you're not doing technology enhanced language learning, all right? Because we're talking about using technology to enhance teaching and learning. Google Classroom, okay, but remember that Google Classroom is a learning management system, all right? It's not something that you use for improving, enhancing your teaching and learning. PowerPoint, okay, I don't mean that you should stop using PowerPoint. I still use PowerPoint in my lectures regularly, all right? But mind you, if you are just using PowerPoint, then you are using PowerPoint just for presentation and not for enhancing interactive language teaching and learning. Okay, now, so let me now go back to my slide, right? Good. All right, so just now I was saying that if we use Kahoot for a bit of fun occasionally, so that's fine, all right? But if you go one step further, for example, okay, so if you go one step further and then use Kahoot to build interactive lessons, wow, you are then doing technology enhanced language learning. All right, okay. So later in this presentation, if there is time, I will be showing you one artifact example artifact that I have created. Okay, right now. So my rebuttal to myth number 3, all right? So TEL, it's about teachers designing good teaching and learning, all right? Okay, now myth number 4, TEL will make your life easier as students can now learn on their own. Well, no, unfortunately, all right? Okay. TEL will not make your life easier. Now, why am I saying that, all right? Now, we all know that teaching used to be in the form of just chalk and talk. So in the past, lesson planning was mostly about planning out what to talk about during a lesson, okay? And so even when PowerPoint came on the scene, lesson planning was still mostly just about planning the teacher talk, except now the chalk was replaced by PowerPoint slides, okay? But if you're doing real TEL, technology enhanced language learning, all right? And you're using tools like Nearpod, Edpuzzle, Quizlet, Pear Deck, Classkick, Kahoot, Mentimeter, and so on and so on, all right, to make your lessons more interactive and engaging. Now think of the time that you have to invest into coming up with the activity ideas and also creating a learning artifacts. Wow, think of the initial time you have to invest in these. Now, in 2003, when I myself was mainly relying on PowerPoint in my university lectures, how much time did I spend preparing for a 3-hour lecture? How much time did I spend? Well, the answer is 3 hours. So on average, I spent 3 hours preparing for a 3-hour lecture, because most of the time I was just, well, building up a PowerPoint. But today, for a 3-hour lecture, how much time do I spend on the planning? The answer is 9 hours. 9 hours for a 3-hour lecture. So to go back to my myth number 5, at least initially, TEL won't give you an easier life. At least initially, right? You will be spending much more time doing the planning and the creating of resources. But technology has 2 great things to offer. Number 1, it enables us to systematically save our teaching resources for reuse. Okay, all right? Yes, initially, a lot more time, but then you can save all your ideas or your artifacts in a very systematic way. And number 2, technology makes reusing, modifying, adapting the previous lesson designs and teaching resources just a piece of cake. All right. Okay. So let me see if I have. Right. Let me take you to my Satori dashboard. Now, for lesson planning, for lecture planning, this is the app, this is the tool which I use, all right? It's called Satori, okay? And if you look at the left-hand page, this is what I was talking about, all right? So for example, this is one course that I taught 2 years ago. And then currently I'm still teaching this course, all right? And so for example, these were my lesson designs. So if I just open one of them, okay. So my lesson design and then links. Well, my computer is a bit slow, right? And links to my teaching resources. Okay, so that was 2 years ago. This year, I'm still teaching this course, right? And I don't have to start from scratch. I don't, okay? All I need to do is to go back to an earlier design. So let me go back to my stories. So this is this year, okay? So all I need to do is go back to my earlier design, okay? And then modify, adapt my earlier designs and materials. Yes, so to go back to my myth number 4, all right? Share, okay, good. Planning for TEL requires much more time than traditional lesson planning. So that's true, okay? But in the long run, yes, in the long run, it will save your time. So now let's go on to myth number 5. Anything that TEL can do, you can too. Well, maybe not anymore. And I'm not even talking about AI, artificial intelligence, okay? Now, this is the SAMRA model, which everyone in our field is very, very familiar with, all right? So this model explains the contributions of technology in teaching and learning, okay? So S stands for substitution. So in other words, it substitutes something which we have been traditionally doing. And then augmentation, improving, modification. But the most fantastic part or parts are, first of all, modification, which I just mentioned, and redefinition. Redefinition here means that technology allows us to do something which previously was not possible. I repeat, technology allows us to do something which previously was not possible in the classroom. All right, so let me quickly show you one personal example. All right, so I think some of you will be familiar with quizzes. All right, which started out as an app for creating quizzes, short quizzes, all right? But now we can easily create an interactive lesson like the one I'm now going to show you. So this is an example lesson which I created some time ago. Okay, you may not be able to hear the music, okay? So something for the students to read, and then immediately they have to respond to the question. Okay. So for example, let's say true. All right, oh my God. Okay, so go on. And then they continue to read more about the topic. And then another question, okay. All right. So let's just say, all right, okay. just my luck, all right? And so on and so on, all right? Now, let me close this first. That's my point. That's my point, all right? Previously inconceivable. In the traditional classroom, how would you be doing that? Okay, all right. Now, so here's my rebuttal to myth number 4, myth number 5, right? It makes technology enables us to make some exciting changes. Okay, right. So bringing your teaching to new heights, doing something which previously were impossible, okay? All right, myth number 6, hell will replace language teachers one day. The answer is no. No, all right? Tell or technology can never replace teachers, because language learning is a very, very long journey, okay? Language learning is a very, very long journey for our students, right? When our students learn English, so they're not just learning the vowels of English, the consonants of English, the phonics of English, right? They are learning many, many things. And this is a very, very long journey. Yes, occasionally you can give them a self-paced and Leopold unit and so on and so on. But over the whole journey, students will still need you to design the curriculum, all right, to guide them along the way. So I don't think technology will ever be able to replace teachers. So don't worry, all right? This is a quote by Alison King, all right, an academic who published a paper in 1993. And in that paper, there was this quote which became very, very popular in our field. So the idea here is, because of technology, all right, we teachers should consider moving on from the stage, all right, so we are the stage, we know everything. Now I'm in the classroom, I'm going to teach you the knowledge, I'm going to teach you everything, then I know, all right? And this is especially true in the 21st century, that we should become a guide on the side. So this is a personal maxim for me as well, all right? So the role of the teacher simply changes. Okay, myth number 6, sorry, not myth number 7. Technology will dehumanize the classroom. My answer is no, it's just the opposite. The reason is that teaching in the 21st century, all right, we're not focusing on knowledge itself, because if it is just knowledge, students don't need you. They can easily go to do a Google search, and they go online and they can easily get the knowledge that they need. Teaching in the 21st century should focus on the 21st century skills such as communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. So if you look at these 4 C's, communication, collaboration, critical thinking, creativity, then you will realize that it's quite the contrary, all right? It's quite the contrary. The application of technology enables us to spend more time, all right, collaborating with our students, communicating with our students, getting them to communicate with each other, getting them to collaborate, and so on and so on. So the use of technology will never dehumanize the classroom, all right? Skillful technology enhanced learning in fact, will augment teacher-student interaction, right? So just to give you one example, right? Recently, I started to use this app, which is called Ziplet, all right? Which is called Ziplet. And I use Ziplet to ask my students how they are feeling, how they are progressing once in a while, all right? So for example, once in a while, I might go to social and emotional learning, all right? And ask them something like this, okay? All right? Student well-being. Did you have enough sleep last night? And so on and so on, all right? Okay, now, in a traditional classroom, yes, you can, verbally ask a question like this, but usually, you know how many students will respond. Usually only the very, very outspoken, outgoing students will respond. The other students, well, they might be difficult to get to. Okay, so those are the 7 myths, and now I'm going to end my presentation by scrolling through the remainder of my PowerPoint very, very quickly, just to give you some inspiration, some ideas, all right? Now, for me, the use of technology has made my teaching much, much more interactive and engaging. And so this is the biggest advantage for me in my experience in using technology in my teaching. So very quickly, my 7 strategies. So show visually the progress of the class session periodically, right? Okay. My strategy number 2, use polls and brainstorming tasks to engage students. Okay, and then my strategy number 3, give students opportunities to share their ideas and work. Conduct short quizzes every now and then. Hold short technology-mediated discussions. Liven up class sessions with short interactive tasks. Wow. And challenge students with micro learning units, all right, such as this. Wow. Wow. So to sum up, all right, well, why 7? Why 7? All right. So it's just the number, right, to rebut my 7 myths, 7 myths, right? Okay. No. So that takes me to the end of my presentation. All right. So I hope that I have succeeded, all right, to a certain extent in making you guys even more excited about applying technology in language teaching and learning. So this is my second last slide, right? My own teaching maxim. And thanks very much, all right, for joining this session. So I'm now handing you guys back over to the MC, Michael, all right? So Michael, back to you, Michael.
And that concludes today's webinar. I would like to give the deepest thanks to Dr. Paul C for the presentation. And please excuse us for the technical delays earlier, and we hope you still enjoy and be inspired by today's presentation. And once again, thank you, Dr. Paul C, and also thank you to everyone who's tuning in the audience. And please remember to download your e-certificate from our website, after this webinar. And we'll also be sending you a post-webinar survey. So we look forward to having your comments and feedback. Thank you. Please look out for our email. And lastly, may I remind that there will be more sessions coming up and for the rest of the day and in the afternoon. So please join us. We hope to see you there. Thank you and goodbye.